Film directors don't need to know the technicalities of production design, lighting, or even acting to make great films. They just need to know enough about each department to communicate well with their crew. The same applies to color grading. If you're not sure what to expect from a colorist, or if you're unclear why you even need one, how can you make the most out of your collaboration? Most directors I work with admit that they're at a loss when it comes to this final stage of the process. So in this video, I'm going to start with the basics: why color grading matters in the first place, and why colorists even exist at all. Even just having a better grasp of these basic concepts can make you a better director and help your film stand out at film festivals. I've been a professional colorist since 2018, and I recently color graded a feature film starring John Carroll Lynch, Neil McDonough, Whoopi Goldberg, Cedric the Entertainer, Mario Van Peebles, and Edward James Olmos. I've also color graded for organizations like the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston and Northeastern University. Before becoming a colorist, I directed my own short films. At the time, I knew absolutely nothing about color grading. I remember making changes in Final Cut Pro, turning everything blue, and raising the ISO to the point where the image was practically all noise. Luckily, my amazing DP recommended an amazing colorist, and I took a leap of faith that this person, whose job I had barely heard of or knew existed, could somehow make my flat, gray images look professional. I wasn't skeptical exactly, but I had gotten used to looking at the images as they were during the editing process, with my completely amateur color edits that I mentioned earlier. Almost anything can look good enough until you've seen something better. So I went into the colorist studio alone, having unconsciously set low expectations and having no clue what I wanted to achieve or why I was even there. It could have easily been a total waste of time and money. And while luckily it wasn't that, I also think it could have turned out better if I had a better understanding of the role of the colorist I was working with. I might have had a better idea of how to communicate. I would have unified the look more, lifted the shadows on certain scenes, added a touch of grain, etc. A lot of directors come to me knowing almost as little as I did back then. Some of them have already tried to color grade it themselves or have an editor do it for them. Eventually they think, hey, maybe there's a reason that all my favorite films have a colorist listed in the end credits. So even though they don't fully understand why, they take that leap of faith by hiring a colorist. Other directors fall into the trap of getting used to the grade they've done themselves and thinking, hey, maybe this is good enough. I'll put my post-production budget towards a new $20,000 camera instead. They do their films and the work of their whole cast and crew a huge disservice. In either case, they're missing the first step towards working effectively with a colorist, knowing why they're working with the colorist in the first place. One reason color grading is so important is simply that filmmaking is a huge investment, probably more so than any other creative endeavor. It requires so many moving parts, scheduling, people, time, and of course, money. Filmmakers just don't go through the insanity of 10-hour production days unless they fully believe in their story. And when so many people have put in so much work, every detail matters. Color grading might be icing on the cake, but the saying doesn't have the same meaning if it's a cake for a royal wedding. A cheesy metaphor, but hopefully you get the idea. All the ingredients that are admittedly much more important than color grading, the script, the cinematography, the performances, they're almost wasted if the color grade doesn't help bring them to life. This is even more true for filmmakers that invest heavily in their camera department or shoot in a raw format. It would be a total waste to gather all that detailed visual information without having a colorist craft it into something coherent and special. Another reason color grading is key is that movies speak their own language and say things that words can't say. That's what makes it such an incredible medium. You take all these sonic and visual and verbal and literary elements and you put them all together and you get something so much greater than the sum of its parts. Color grading is one element of that cinematic language. It might seem small, but if it's missing, audiences can sniff it out. They might not know what it is, but something will feel off, incomplete. Just like if there's no production design or costume department to make sure every decision says something and contributes to a cohesive whole. You can call it production value, but really it's just the care and thought and consideration that goes into all of a movie's creative decisions. That's why production value matters to film festival juries. And without color grading, a film's production value suffers. So then why don't directors just learn to do it themselves? Some directors are great actors, some directors are great editors, but a director, actor, producer, composer, colorist, there's no way that one person can really excel at all of those skills. The colorist Jill Bogdanovich compared color grading to Japanese calligraphy, and that many of the adjustments a colorist makes can seem extremely simple. It's the years of honing one's eye that makes all the difference just to a single black brush stroke in Japanese calligraphy, or a single contrast adjustment in color grading. Look at the IMDb page of any one of your favorite films, find the colorist, and that's the person who is brought onto the team for that exact reason. A colorist has a whole library of past experiences to draw from based on their work for other projects. They've seen how color grading can increase our empathy for the character and bring us into their state of mind, or how it can do the opposite if that's what serves the story. They've seen all the ways that color grading can guide the viewer's attention to what's important, how it can make footage shot in an alleyway in LA feel like it's part of a film set in New York City, or how it can make footage shot in late fall feel like it belongs in a film set in midsummer. And because they weren't on set while the film was being shot, they have an outsider's perspective that the director doesn't have. A good colorist has a set process that they use on every project, and they know the importance of having a macro-level creative transform, aka look, to tie together various shot-level adjustments. They'll tell you when you're getting prematurely caught up in secondary adjustments, like changing the color of a water bottle in the background, at the risk of making your images feel overly manipulated and false. They also have access to equipment that helps them view your film as accurately as possible. A lot has changed in the past 15 years since I directed my first short film. People understand the way that an Instagram filter can change the look of their selfie. If they have the latest iPhone Pro, they might know that it can shoot in something called Apple-Log. They might not know that Apple-Log is a scene-referred color space, but they see that it results in a flat, gray, washed-out image by default. Color grading is actually part of the cultural lexicon now. There are articles popping up on social media dissecting the surprisingly muted look of Wicked or poking fun at the stereotypical orange Mexico look. These articles aren't aimed at filmmakers, they're actually getting clicks from normal, everyday consumers. But on the whole, people still seem confused about why color grading actually matters and why it's considered a job for a specialist. Hopefully this video helped clarify some of that for you. I'm planning to start posting more videos on this topic, so if you'd like to learn more about how directors can better collaborate with colorists, hit subscribe below.